Hey guys, I'm choosing to sit on the floor tonight. I'm trying to find a spot that I feel most comfortable, and so this will be it for tonight. But how's everybody doing? I look forward to coming on here and hearing from people. I look forward to your conversations, and I had a lot of phone calls and texts and messages today with questions, and so I'm excited to answer some of those for you. And I thought I would kind of answer questions and offer a few tips just along the way. So let's jump right into it. Sarah, thank you for your question or your comment about kids fighting, pushing back, kind of as you start your day and try to get things going. Let's see, it's a little bit better. And I do have a couple of things to say to that. For one, it's totally normal. Just starting this whole journey with homeschooling, it's going to be really uncomfortable for everybody. And your kids are just trying to test you, and they're trying to find their new normal. So it's totally expected that there would be a lot of pushback. So that's okay. And don't worry, that is totally normal. But as you consistently show up every day, with the same kind of expectation, the same routine, they're going to fall in line. They're going to catch on. But I have one kind of practical tip. So in the morning, as you're trying to get everybody gathered together, wouldn't it be great to offer your kids a reason for wanting to gather together? For us and our family, we have something, and it's allowance. So what we do is we have a chore chart. And it's been great. We started with chores when our kids were really little, simple things, unloading the silverware drawer, just really simple tasks. And then as they get older, they can become more independent and more helpful. But for us, we have a chore chart. It's posted. It says Monday, your job to unload and load any dishes that are in the sink. Tuesday, take out the trash. Wednesday, vacuum the living room. And as everybody gathers, by a certain time, their morning chore is expected to be done. And with that, they earn allowance right then and there. Pay it every day. Kids love immediate rewards and feedback. And so if you're able to right then and there give them some cash, it's going to be a great way to kind of bring everybody together. For us, we also encourage our kids to pay tithing. And that is 10% of their income, their increase. And so we also take that opportunity to help them to pay their tithing, make a little note of how much they're putting, put it in a separate bag. So it's been a really good teaching opportunity. So that is a great way to kind of get the family excited about gathering in the morning, is giving them an opportunity to earn allowance. I'll also say too, that allowance, and maybe it was only like a quarter, when you were younger, you earned that quarter a day. If your child continues to misbehave or be a distraction, that could be something that you kind of dangle for them. Like, if you want to keep your allowance today, I really need you to stop distracting, and that's worked for us. So I love kind of giving them that incentive to gather, and then also being able to use that as a little bit of leverage throughout the day. Especially works for younger kids for sure. Speaking about gathering, let's talk a little bit about, hold on, I'm going to do something here. Talk a little bit about our daily routine, because a lot of people have asked about that. Very briefly, we gather in the morning. We gather at 8 o'clock. I might be pushing back to a little bit later now that we are on a little bit of an adjusted routine. But every morning we say a family prayer together. And then the kids usually also say a personal prayer after that. We say the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm not even sure if they do that in the schools anymore, but we bring out the flag and we pledge of allegiance to the flag every day. And then we have spiritual thought. And so I prefer to have a routine, a plan already put in place. So Mondays we watch some kind of, spiritually uplifting videos. Tuesday in our house we watch a conference talk, which is something that's unique to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's like a spiritual sermon. Wednesdays, we just quietly read our scriptures. I usually like to play some quiet music while we do that. Thursdays, I just usually pick something out of the New Era or the Ensign or another video. And then on Fridays, the kids, it's funny, it's kind of become a little bit of a routine. So on Thursdays, they will rock, paper, scissors to see who's in charge of the spiritual thought for Friday. And they have an opportunity to do their own thought on whatever they want. It's really good opportunity for them to kind of learn about how to do a quick impromptu thought, or if they think about it ahead of time, they can prepare something. So that's how our morning routine looks. From there, my oldest son will go off. He's completely independent, and we are going to talk a little bit more about that. If you have older kids and they're homeschooling for the first time, and how to monitor them, how much independence to give them. So a question I had, so we'll get back to that. But my oldest son is a senior, and he will go and do his own thing. And then I sit with my two other boys, and we go through our grammar, our literature, Greek, Latin. It's all rolled into one. It sounds really impressive, but really it's just doing a program that we have, a curriculum. And then we do our family read aloud. So that's kind of our morning in a nutshell. It takes about an hour to do all of that stuff. And some days we switch it up and do things a little different. Some days we go longer with the spiritual thought. Some days we're really short. Sometimes we read our read aloud longer, and sometimes we cut it short. So we're flexible. We don't have to be exactly the same every single day. So thanks for that question, Sarah, about fighting kids and getting them to come together. I hope that helped. Amber, I got your question, or your comment rather, about just hating this. I totally feel your pain. Even my kids right now, our schedule is not that different, and they still feel a little bit of that, just the change. And so we feel that angst here as well, and I can only imagine trying to adopt a whole new routine. You talked about Google Classroom. I imagine that means that they're sitting the same number of minutes that they are in their classroom, they're sitting with their teacher. That's awful. That is awful, because it's doing school at home. It's not homeschool. It's doing school at home without all the perks of the social interaction and the real engagement with teachers. And so I feel bad because I don't think that schooling at home is very effective. And I'm afraid that our kids are going to just be miserable for a while. And that means moms are miserable too. So I would maybe, if you want to be proactive about it, reach out to the school and find out what material is going to be covered, and find out if you can teach on your own, if you can find another way. There are so many ways for our children to learn. And I learned this early on as I was trying to decide how best to teach my kids, that they all learn in such different ways. Some of them are real visual, some of them are real auditory learners. If we could just find out what material they need to be learning, and then allow them and help them, facilitate them to learn in that manner, we would be so much more successful than having them sit in front of the computer and pay attention to a teacher. I can't imagine how hard that must be. So I just wish you the best of luck. I'm so sorry. Take advantage of the times when they're not sitting in front of that computer, and let them have lots of breaks and lots of free time. Encourage them to get outside. But I just have to say that schooling at home is really hard when you're doing it exactly like that. So literally, like you're just taking the school and putting it home. Homeschool works because it allows kids more freedom and flexibility, and that's hard because they're not really allowing you to do that. So I'm really sorry, but maybe reach out to the school if you find that it's just not working, and see if there's any way for you to be flexible in how your kids are being taught. I love the question from Cindy about working parents all of a sudden feeling like you're taking on 2 jobs now because you're full-time homeschooling and you're also still working. I feel for you. I do know a little bit about what you're going through because I do work as well. And it is hard to balance everything out. I have a few suggestions. First of all, you have got to be super intentional with your time. This is going to be a really challenging time, and we're all going to be stretched. So make sure you're getting a good night's sleep. I talked about it yesterday. Try, if you can, to get up before the house wakes up, before the noise. Keep the noise shut out and really ground yourself. Center yourself. Prepare for the day. A lot of people do meditation and yoga to help kind of center them. And realize that this is going to be an extra challenge until things get back to normal, which I know they will. But be intentional about how you are using your time. And then honor your intention. So what I mean by that is you cannot successfully accomplish both your work and homeschooling at the same time, especially if you have younger kids, because what's happening is you're dividing your brain and you're trying to do both at once, which just leads to a lot of frustration and poor outcome. So what I would recommend is creating that schedule where you're spending, maybe it's your mornings with the kids when they're fresh and they're ready to focus, and you're putting your work till later. You either wake up early and get some work done before you get started with the kids, or you take it and you set it aside until later if you can. Because like I said, you can't do both. It's so frustrating to try to do both things at once. So then you can take those several hours in the morning time and totally focus on the kids. Laser focus and say a lot of prayers. Hi, Christy. Say a lot of prayers to be able to know how to juggle it. You'll be able to figure it out. It might take a little bit of time, but it's just going to be too frustrating to try to work and do homeschool. We run our own business and we work all the time. My routine is such that I do homeschool in the morning. It's like entirely up until lunchtime, up until 1 o'clock. I am at the disposal of the kids. And so I'm right there, laptop open next to usually my youngest. We're doing math together, but I'm also working with the kids on other things. And work is totally second priority at that time. Then when it's time for me to go to work, it switches. And I tell the kids, I'm sorry, I can't help you right now. You're going to have to do this on your own. I have work to do as well. And that's good for them to learn those boundaries as well, and also to maximize their time with you in the morning. So my advice to those who are working at a job, that you really have to just set your priorities, set your expectations, let your family know, so that everybody can begin to adopt this new schedule. And you know what, that leads me into, it's kind of the same thing about homeschooling. When you have younger kids that really need your attention, are used to your one-on-one time, and then you have older kids who are trying to now figure out how they're going to continue their education. For one, I'm going to tell you right now that over the course of a few weeks, you will not ruin your child's education no matter what. We're always learning in life through observation, through experimentation, communication. We are always learning. So you're not going to ruin them. But also, this is a really good opportunity to sit with your older kids and explain to them the situation, explain to them your concern that you have the younger kids to take care of, and that they really need to be responsible for their own education. That's something that in school sometimes we don't get because we spoon feed our kids a lot. I do it too for mine. I really do. I'm saying all of us together, but kids are used to being handed spoon-fed things. This is going to be an opportunity for them to really challenge themselves and to realize that it's their responsibility to become educated. So if you have a curriculum you're following, like Khan Academy, and you have the routine and the schedule with your kids, to sit down and say to them, this is the expectation for the day. Set the expectation and let them go. Let them do it. It's their education. It's not yours, and they're going to be okay. And in fact, they may really rise to the challenge. They may really take on some of that responsibility themselves and enjoy the opportunity to really delve in and learn. So yes, as far as like letting them go with a curriculum and just kind of letting them be independent, I think that's fine. I'll speak to Khan Academy because we used it for quite a while for math only. I liked it for math. It was challenging. If your student needs a lot of assistance in math, I found that I had to sit right with my kids and kind of help them through, because with Khan Academy, they have to master a skill in order to advance. It's not like you can just take a test and get a 60 or a 70 or an 80 and then move on like you do in school. It's required that you get pretty much 100% from what I can remember from last year. And if you don't, it kind of knocks you back. So just be aware it can be frustrating for kids who don't excel and don't respond well to that kind of environment where it's really an expectation of total mastery. Like I said, I don't know about the other subjects. So you might just take a little bit of time, do a little bit of research and find out if that will work for your child, that particular curriculum. But what I have to say is let them speak to you. Open up a lot of conversations. Ask at the dinner table, how is it working? Do you enjoy it? What did you learn today? I think it's a great time at dinner to ask these kinds of questions to your kids and kind of turn their education over to them a little bit. You can also review their scores on there to see how they're doing. It's a pretty good indicator as well. Okay, just one last thing. I was talking to another friend today from a while ago, and she has a kindergartner and then she has younger kids, 2 little ones. And she has decided that since school was canceled for the rest of the year for her kindergartner, and since her daughter had been begging for homeschool, that she was going to start homeschooling from here on out. And so she was asking me about how to really instill within your child that love of learning. And it's just a totally different mentality. And I think it's really hard to do that at the same time that we're telling our kids, you have to get on your Google Classroom, you have to do this for X number of hours a day, because that's different than the whole homeschool mentality, the love of learning. But I just want to speak to that. So it might be a little bit of a different topic right now, but helping your kids to love to learn, you have to let them choose. It has to be something they're responsible for, sitting down and talking to them and asking them what they're excited about learning, and then letting them take the lead. They will far exceed any expectation that you would ever set for them in many, many ways. So allowing them to be free to learn what they love, to practice what they enjoy, they will grow and they will learn to love. And I also thought the way we talk about learning so oftentimes in the school setting is that learning is a worksheet. Learning is sit down and do this project and do a book report. And that's one way of learning, but so many kids learn in different ways. I thought, what if we talked about learning differently? What if we went outside and we went on a nature walk and we picked a bunch of beautiful, maybe you don't want to pick the flowers, but anyway, you observed flowers and you collected leaves and pine cones and sticks, and you went back inside and you started looking into all of your things that you'd collected, and you said, look at all the stuff we learned today. What if you watched birds all afternoon and started looking through resource guides and found the names of all those birds and identified their call and said, we have learned so much today. What if you're playing an instrument? We have learned so much. If you start to associate the things that we love with the word learning, they'll start to learn that learning is something they love and not something they dread. So oftentimes we associate the word learning with a worksheet or a real formal report or something, and then they learn from early on that they don't enjoy learning. And that was the case for my son when I brought him home. He was between 4th and 5th grade. We started 5th grade, and then he kind of crashed in a way and very clearly expressed that this was not going to work for him, that he was not going to be able to thrive in that setting. And when I brought him home, he was so adverse to any kind of learning. and maybe some of you with boys can relate to this. He was not interested at all. The only thing he was interested in was amphibians and reptiles. And so for that first year, I scrapped the whole idea of learning the way they were learning in school because he was totally rejecting that. And so because of his love of amphibians and reptiles, everything we did that year revolved around amphibians and reptiles. And I will just add that you can create a curriculum around anything that your child loves. If they love World War II, you can read about it, you can write about it, you can study about it, you can do, incorporate it into math problems. That might be a little bit of a stretch, but you can, communicate about it. You can have interviews about it. Use it. If they love it, use it. So back to this idea about, we rejected anything that looked like learning like it was in school, and we started doing things a totally different way. For my son who loved amphibians, we decided to put together a program, a fundraiser that he was going to create to raise money for frogs to donate to the local, our local town to conserve frogs. And so we went together to City Hall. We sat down with the commissioner of some sort, and my son looked him in the face and said, "What are you doing to conserve? What are you doing to protect the amphibian population in our community?" And they were kind of like, whoa, okay. And so our whole curriculum was him writing emails back and forth. We also planned a whole day. It was called Frog Day. Some of you may have been at Frog Day, but he did art projects to sell, to donate. He designed this beanbag toss that was like a giant frog, and he worked with one of my friends to sew beanbags to toss into the mouth of the frog. So he did sewing project, but all of this was done through communication, through email, and he actually ended up raising like $150 or something on a beautiful Frog Day when all of our friends came and supported him. People would pay a ticket to watch the snake eat a live mouse. I think that was a pretty good moneymaker actually, but he ended up being invited to the city, the town hall meeting to present the check to the mayor. And that was it was actually like real life experience. So different than let's read about, town hall or something and let's do a worksheet on it. The more we can live education, the more our kids are going to benefit. I so believe that. For us, we have a family business, and so we have a lot of conversations, a ton of conversations. But for me, if my child is there, and they are often here while we are interviewing over Skype, one of our international counselors, we own a summer camp, they are soaking that up. So expose your kids to what you're doing and your life. Right now, you can do that. When you have your kids at home, expose them to cooking, expose them to meal planning, expose them to how you're running your business, expose them to all that you're doing. Bring them along, show them the way, and they will learn a whole lot. Don't be paralyzed into thinking that education is only what's happening in that Google Classroom. Education is happening all around you. I remember one of my friends, shout out April Parker, homeschool mom, and my early days of homeschooling, she would say, "Don't you just love to sit around with your kids and just like all day long watch documentaries?" And I was like, oh my gosh, I've never done that before. No, I don't know what that's like, and I don't know if I love that, but that's absolutely learning. And so do that, Anyway, I've talked a long time. I'm enjoying this, but if you have any other questions for me, I'm here to help. I'm hoping that I helped you learn about how to homeschool older kids and little kids at the same time, how to instill that love of learning, how to balance things if you're a working parent and also expecting to be homeschooling your kids, how to juggle all of that, and also just how to bring everybody together, cut back on some of the fighting, give them a reason to come together and teach some life skills at the same time. So a little bit of a pep talk. We can do this. This is a really challenging time, but I am going to continue to have a positive outlook. We are planning for a good summer. We depend on our summer camp business to keep our family going. So we are determined it's going to happen. And so I'm keeping a real positive attitude. And I believe that as we speak positivity and continue to look forward with a positive attitude, that we can help the situation and help each other. So thanks for listening. If you have any questions about homeschool, leave them here. If you guys continue to need help and enjoy some of the advice, I'm happy to be on here. It helps me, distracts me from other things, and helps me keep focused on something that I love. So have a good night, everybody. Stay positive, and see you on Facebook. Bye.